All right, it is 10:30 in the world of South Africa, and I am patiently waiting for the latest SpaceX rocket to launch back into space, Starship version 3. I've been watching these rockets take off, I think, for almost 8 or 9 years now. I think the first time was watching the first super heavy take off and then seeing both Falcon 9 rockets or boosters go back to Earth, and that was just a phenomenal sight to behold, as digital as I experienced that from the other side of the planet. And so here I am waiting, but at the same time I do have some things to share with you, and that is I just completed a 2-day trip to Johannesburg and had many meetings that demanded my expertise and required me to show up, push ahead, and share what I do best, and see if I could fit in or provide my expertise in a way that was useful to those people. And there's always a little bit of SketchUp education going on. There's always some retail development projects, and at certain times there's a little bit of a philosophical. There must be a better word. English as a second language. The philosophical. There we go. The philosophical nature of the design work that we tend to do. And especially today, I had 3 very strong conversations, like strong and deep. And as this week is focused on AI and design, I do find myself in a position over the last month where I'm slowly making steps forward in embracing AI as part of the design spectrum, as part of the tools in your design arsenal, and alongside that, being introduced to clients who not necessarily are using AI as much as we are, and then having the opportunity to come alongside them and sell them that service. And some of that is not really selling, it is a combination of providing a service where the service itself, the opportunity to engage with them, will prove to them long term that it is of value, right? So I'm not necessarily saying it's a freebie or it's something that you don't charge for at all or whatsoever, but I'm saying that the context in which you start that business relationship is not necessarily immediately defined into a clear, this is the hourly rate or this is the total value of the project. And of the 3 conversations I had, the first one being a private one, of which I'll share very little, but the conversation we had was in line with, does work come before family or does family come before work? And I know what you're gonna say. You can say in the comments to me as easy as I could that the answer is immediately, of course, family comes before work. And sometimes for some families, one intertwines work so much in the family life, and maybe within the extended family, one works together with other people in the family business, that it becomes difficult to separate the two. And so this was one of those conversations. We both agreed towards the end of that meeting that one shouldn't place work above family. And as a father, that can be a hard thing to grasp at times when you know that the work that you do is what provides for your day-to-day in your family's life. And at the same time, we shouldn't fall for the idea that in life itself, the only way for life to be sustainable is to provide through work and provide some kind of monetary value to the rest of your family. So that was conversation 1. Then conversation two, I think, provided the pivotal moment of the day itself. The context of that meeting is not something that I'm disclosing here, but in short, the retail design specialist that I met with has been working for a long time in the craft that he has experience in. His longevity is supreme, and so in our working relationship, we often talk about or use an analogy along the lines of he's the conductor, and when I support or consult to him and with him or come alongside him in a certain way, the the way that we work together is that he's the conductor and I play an instrument. And so the people in his design studio are fellow instrument players, fellow musicians, and I slot in with the rest of them. I'm not a fellow conductor. And I think that's fair. I think you can't have too many captains on the same ship. That's really not what this is about in that relationship specifically, but also that's not one of the pitfalls that we experience. Having said all of that, what we were talking about today was specifically around AI. And so the thing that struck us both was in previous instances, I've worked alongside him, I've played my instrument. But now, what we're starting to see with AI is that it was very difficult for both of us to understand and to process if I introduced AI within his firm, amongst the people within his team, what instrument was I actually playing? Or what new instrument was I bringing to the orchestra? So for him and I, it was such a question mark moment, and we evidently then ran out of time in our meeting, completed for both of us to then have to switch gears and go to different meetings altogether. But we left ourselves basically in a bit of a limbo state, not knowing exactly how to best realign ourselves to this new way of working. We have the AI, we can use it, but in the context of the existing orchestra, where we know what type of music instrument plays the melody or the chorus or the backing track to support the musical score with filler instrumental music, etc. We didn't quite know if we could consider that the AI was another instrument, and so to say, it became difficult for either of us to acknowledge or to create a framework or a roadmap for how we were wanting to incorporate it. And it didn't necessarily leave me with a lot of frustration. I think it left me with a lot of food for thought. And I wonder if you are in a position within your design team or within your design studio or within your business that uses AI, if you have found similar situations where you also encountered that AI is an extremely adaptive tool that can really enhance your tool set altogether, but at certain times it also feels like you can't quite define what the instrument actually is that you're utilizing. So that was conversation 2. Then conversation 3 was a more sales driven meeting in relationship to the SketchUp training services that I provide. And here the transition of the team from one design software to the other was the topic of conversation, and this was the thing that was being discussed. And so in this conversation, although AI featured, knowing that I knew exactly what instrument I was going to play in their orchestra, having been primed by a fellow salesperson or facilitator, that this was what was being asked of me. And the conversation itself flowed immediately and extremely well. And that to me pointed out just one more time that within the context of our existing businesses and the way that we have worked up to this point in environments or in teams where we know the structure of the organization, it becomes easy to implement AI as an additional tool set, because as much as the AI can accelerate our workflows or can take over certain tasks or accelerate specific parts of a task or provide endless variations of something that you are exploring through the task that you're trying to complete, you do not lose track of the process itself because it is so embedded and ingrained within the team. So the structure and the framework of the way that you work as a team in that operation doesn't come under threat by the utilization of AI. And I think that's also an important thing to notice or to take stock of when discussing things amongst managers, business owners, founders, etc., that within a strong enough background and foundational framework, you can introduce AI as the instrument in the orchestra that you don't know yet how it should be played or how it should be form part of the orchestral score. And that's pretty much where I'm going to leave it today, as the launch of Starship 3 comes closer and closer. But I want to leave you with this thought and maybe this thought exercise, and that is, how do you feel that AI fits into your personal workflow, your business workflow, and how often do you find yourself asking yourself, do I feel like I'm using the AI as an instrument? Do I know what that instrument is and what task or role it fulfills within our orchestra? And do I sometimes hold AI in my hands, metaphorically, and wonder what instrument on earth I'm actually using? So, on that bombshell, I wish you all good night. And if you're watching the launch of the rocket, I hope it's going to be successful. I certainly will see you all next week. I don't know why I keep on going on. I certainly will see you all next week. So please like, subscribe, and follow along. We're gonna start a new series, which hopefully is gonna dive a little bit more into some practical things. And beyond that, I hope you have a great night.